when you started.
There we go. All right, guys.
Awesome.
Before we jump in, I have a little follow-up to last time. And let me see if that comes up. Can you guys see my screen yet?
It's now it can.
It is.
Yep.
All right.
I think it gives a little pause just in case you're sharing the wrong thing.
Wow.
Really?
True.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. You mean like on TV when they broadcast everything 10 seconds? They can actually
10-second delay, yeah.
or 5 or whatever it is, but there is a delay so they can hit the cut to commercial if anything too untoward happens in live shows. Yeah, I wanted to share something that we had talked about last week, namely how do you write the Z and how do you write the wa in
Oh yeah.
And last time we were still kind of undecided, so I did dig a little bit and looked up forms in different texts. And I think for the Z, for the drawbolt, it's clear now. Here it is in the Hieratic letters, which are pretty old. I mean, they're 2000 BC, basically. Here's a standalone form, actually still with 2 drawbolts on the... Oh, wait, this is the drawbolt. So 2 of the, whatever the loops are called that the bolt goes through. But here you have a ligature with G. Is that G or P? I think G.
Yeah, I think so.
And yeah, actually, how do you tell a ligature? But that's a different story. Could be a P, which I keep my words here. But the interesting thing is it goes right into
Your
it.
audio is going in and out, Aurelio.
Any better now? No?
I think so.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I was just saying, actually, now that I think about it, I'm not sure if this is a G or a P. I think it's a G. But the interesting thing is it's bound over from the S, from the Z. And here is a ligature of Z and Ch.
Yeah.
Here the
That
same.
could be from that could be from the word seker, which they use a lot. So
Okay.
I'm just guessing, but go ahead.
No, I don't remember, honestly. It could be. In Papyrus Priscilla, that's teaching of Tahotep, there are several of these. So it's intentional. There are like 3 of them in a row. And every time you can see he goes from like the middle stroke down into the Ch. So I would claim, based on that evidence, it is horizontal first, vertical, and then if there's something else to combine to, you can combine. So I think this one in my mind is settled. Horizontal, then the little tick.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Very compelling. Yeah.
So that one's good. This one here is tricky. That's our wa. And again, I did trace it through time. Hieratic letters again. So this is what it looks like in hieroglyphs, right? This kind of harpoon thing. Normally followed by an arm glyph and a determinative stroke for the word one. And that's exactly what you have here. So I would claim this goes vertical, horizontal, and then there's like a little thing of the harpoon at the beginning that he does. And then comes the arm glyph, the ein, and then comes the determinative stroke. And then there's like a little T afterwards. So that's the shape. 1, 2, 3. In the sailor, it's actually way simplified. It's just like a little dot, a horizontal. Then this, I think, is the determinative stroke, and then this is the arm glyph. And he does that a few times on different pages. So this is consistent.
Divided by arm.
Divided by arm, yeah, indeed. And then I thought, okay, but that's all classical Middle Kingdom hieratic. Let's look at something that's a bit more modern. And that gets really interesting. So this one here is the tale of the 2 brothers. I looked up 2 examples, and there's a lot going on. There's like a long vertical, then a little something that looks like the box of the harpoon. Then there's a horizontal, and then he goes down, and then comes the usual arm glyph and number 1 stroke. here's another one just to show that this is not an accident. This is intentional. There's like an extension. Then Papyrus Harris, similar. You have a vertical, you have something going on here in the middle, you have the long horizontal, then you go down. The down is like in the 1,000-year-older example here. Our Horus and Seth. And then finally, Amherst, what was that again? Is that grave robbers? I forgot. In any case, you can see it got even more fancy. It's like this really long vertical, something in the middle, horizontal down. So I would claim the stroke order in my proposal would be vertical. Yeah, here I don't know actually. Vertical, something in the middle, horizontal down. That would kind of feel natural. So something like this. Tup, 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 and then you continue with the rest of the sign. So that could be it. Which would mean that it's different from the S, because if the S goes like, or the Z goes like this seems to be more like tup, 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 and then something like this. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that looks right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great. Again, I think you've done an amazing amount of research, and I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I really think you should write a book on stroke order and hieratic. I think. Anyway, yeah. If I could give you unlimited time
Thank you.
and pay you to do that, then that would be awesome. So, I can do neither of those things. Have I ever showed you this book, Writing Late Egyptian Hieratic by Shelton?
Oh, yeah, Sheldon Gosline or something. I remember.
Yeah. The fonts inside it are so abysmal because it's from the 80s, but it's like he has some ideas about some things, and I think it'd be cool to kind of compare just the research that you're doing with. I really haven't looked at his book at all because I was turned off by the lack of clarity in just it's almost like paint stuff that he drew. Anyway, so it'd be interesting to kind of compare what your findings are with what he's kind of done, because he uses a lot of Chinese brushstroke stuff as kind of a base. Anyway, so but that's as far as I've gotten in this book.
No, but you're, I think, the first person I meet who has it. I've heard about it, I'm aware of it. I saw some pages and I thought, oof, I mean, basically looks like somebody drew it with a mouse in
Right,
the
exactly.
80s, so super pixelated.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I like this approach. I think he lived in China for a few years, so that's probably exactly the same idea. If you can do it for Chinese calligraphy, why not for hieratic?
Right. Yeah.
I should look at that book then sometime.
Especially with your background of already knowing Chinese and that calligraphy style. Yeah, I think you'd have a really educated opinion as to whether it's got any legit ideas or or whether it's up in the night. So
good point. Could you send me the page where he has the one, if he has it? Like, I'm wondering what he says about this sign in particular.
That's another thing. He doesn't really organize it by sign per se. Well, I guess he does in the back. So he's got it by Gardner. So let's see, what's the Z in Gardner?
P21.
P21.
I think so.
He also doesn't have a comprehensive sign list, unfortunately. Yeah. Oh, he just goes. The only thing he's got is P6. So that's another downside. Is he just uses the doomed sailor, or not the doomed sailor, the doomed prince as his example, and apparently that sign never came up there. So
that happens. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Only used one text.
yeah, he only used one text. So
There's a gap here. You're definitely right. We need something more modern than the other thing is if you use Muller to look things up. I mean, Muller does a great job. I don't even want to imagine how many, I don't know, months of work, if not years,
yeah.
went into that. The only problem is everything is hand drawn by a modern person. I think it was done with the objective of teaching you how to read, not how to write. So
Right,
those
right.
crucial little things like how does it really go?
Yeah.
I only trust the original, which means a lot of digging, pull up the photos, look at them really
Totally. Yeah.
closely. So something I wouldn't dare to do from a modern transcription, because then you're reading somebody else's opinion, basically.
Right. Right. You really have to have the original. So.
That's the same reason why I won't read Peter Rabbit until I get really good at random.
Right.
I have the same feeling about what's it called? There is also the Little Prince is available.
Oh, really?
The Egyptian.
Wow.
Oh,
And on the one hand, I'm thinking I really want to read this. On the other hand, I'm thinking there are all these original texts that I haven't read yet in Egypt.
Right.
So why would I?
Right. Yeah.
And with that being said, should we go back to our Horus with bad breath?
Yes. Yes, we should. We should.
All right.
So
What's the first one?
we were right at so we're at right at Ahan.
I think it's this far, right?
Yeah, that's a smelly mouth.
Yes.
I can't remember if we did the hieratic though. Did we look through the hieratic for that line?
If we don't remember, let's do it.
Yeah, let's look
Yeah,
at it.
let's do it.
Where do we want to start? At the when in? Excuse me.
How about the office is too great for you, or this office is too great for you?
Yeah, that would be right at the when in. Yeah, we finished that one, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's where the harpoon is right there. So
Right. Mhm.
Ah, right. Okay. So then let's see. Anything new? We have our little rabbit, tiny inn.
is Neb always written like that? I'm sorry.
No, there are two forms in
That's
this
an
text.
interesting one. Yeah.
The one that you see commonly in this text, that I've seen commonly in this text, goes like this. It has a little, almost like a T here.
Mhm.
And then 1, 2. So let's do this again, like this kind of shape. That's the most common one I see in this text. But there is one other version which looks more like the traditional one, which is more like, I'm not sure about the order, something like this. So it has the actual middle stroke. I think I've seen that somewhere on the first page here as well. But this is what he does most commonly.
It's interesting. So it's like an open basket with a T on top.
Sort of, yeah. I think the T is actually this stuff here. So which would actually mean that I did this wrong, because that would basically seem to indicate these are our two middle lines, right? And then he finishes it off. And so this could become something like this.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Mm.
That would make some sense to me if that's what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Then we have our jet basket.
And the Q or K with a dot underneath it is always an interesting sign for me. It seems like it starts. How do you think that one works? Because it seems like it's got a thin stroke at the top, and then on the side it's stable, but then it looks like it's got a downward. I'm not sure what happened with the pen there, or whether the papyrus was bumpy.
Sorry, I missed
what
it.
I'm saying? So it's like this one right here.
A Q.
Yeah, there you go. The Q or the K with the dot underneath it. What happened with the pen there? Do you think there was like a stroke going down, or do you think the papyrus was bumpy?
This is a hole.
Or
Definitely
yeah,
a hole.
that
So this should be tuck, tuck, tuck. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think this here is to Christian's knowledge. It's just the black surface of the table underneath, which is in.
oh no. Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's just a gap in the papyrus because we've seen a few Qs in there. In this text, which is very like 20th dynasty, they do this a lot. It's very tall. If you look in the Sailor, for example,
Uh-huh.
the Q looks almost like a circle, but
Yeah.
the later you go, the more vertical it becomes, I think.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, they really need to be clear when they take a, well, easy for me to say. I don't work in a museum. But Kevin, you will soon. So tell the photographers that, you know, you need to have really clear differentiation between a hole in the papyrus and not a hole in the papyrus.
Yeah. Yeah, Christian talked about that a lot. He proposes to have like a green background or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the other set of photographs, not the ones that aren't as high res as this, they seem to be photographed on a light colored cloth. So
nice.
in cases like this, I would compare those two sets of photographs because
Oh, okay.
it doesn't have the same.
Is it in in Gardner's book or?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. It's the one that does the page of hieroglyphs, page of hieratic. I think it is.
Yeah, that's Gardner's book. Yeah.
So we could actually confirm that real quick, but I'm pretty sure on this one. Where is it? This should be Horus and Seth.
Okay.
Why don't I see it?
Chester Beatty, maybe?
There you go.
Yeah.
Is it? Geez, which one is it? Maybe this one.
And you guys all know Japanese too? Can I just say that's pretty
in
amazing?
varying degrees.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing. Anyway.
That's the answer.
Oh, I was thinking about that too, Aurelio. I remember sugimas.
Yeah.
We were talking about two great. I totally forgot about that. In Japanese, it's sugimas, whatever.
I missed that. Say it again. I'm sorry.
We last week we were talking about the office is too great for you. Two, the comparative.
Yes.
We were talking about Japanese. Sugimas in Japanese, that would be like hayasugimas, too fast. Takasugimas, too tall. Whatever it is.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Sugiru is like a verb, right?
Yeah.
It's like to be too much, or be beyond,
or to be like like because you would say sugoi is also a way of saying like something's really great. Like, oh yeah, sugoi.
That's giving me flashback.
Cool.
I lived in Japan for 3 years.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Where? I was there for 2 years.
Yeah.
Where
what did you do? I lived in Obamashi, Fukui Ken. I was a Zen monk living in a temple.
No kidding. Oh,
wow, cool.
Wow. Oh, that's very cool. I was just doing the JET program. I was there for 2 years in Nara Prefecture.
Yeah, every other Westerner I met there, besides the people who lived in
They're
the
all
temple.
JET.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. No.
Yeah. See, it eliminates that problem. I think it's.
Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah.
Problem at all.
That is nice. That is
light
nice.
background.
Yeah.
But it's not as high res.
But true, you're right. That problem is gone. Now, which line am I looking for?
It was line 7. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
This is gonna prove me a liar here.
Oh yeah, look. It is ink.
It is ink.
Where? Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
No, I have to change my theory. You're right.
You think they just went like, and then that's a technical term, right? And then the goober, yeah, also a technical term, like some kind of, maybe they dipped again and then went down and then across. Yeah, because it seems like they're either running out there or I don't know.
And
And
maybe
then what was up with the I'm sorry, I need to find it again. The stroke right underneath it too. So I can see Horus's determinative. I can see the little guy, the A1 right next to the Horus determinative. But what's this line right underneath the Q sign?
You
What's
mean
behind it?
here?
Yeah, that guy.
oh, that's that just that stroke, right? Just that line.
It is.
Okay.
It seems. Let's go back to our side-by-side comparison. That makes it easier.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
And that's a determinative, or that's just part of the.
I think that's just shorthand that they just use that for hieratic, and that can mean anything done really fast. That's my understanding of that.
Interesting. Okay.
It's the same. It's just I call it a lazy stroke. It's like when you to write anything more complicated, you just add that.
That's cool. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's see. So this one, yeah, one thing, and Peter, I know you've worked a lot with papyrus too. I mean, it's very fibrous, right? So what could also have happened is that you get stuck somewhere essentially.
Yeah. Right.
That's why you
Oh, yeah.
need a really rounded tip on whatever you're writing with. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck and hung up in the fibers all the time.
If you get stuck in the fibers, or if your brush is too dry, could like a hair off your brush make an extra stroke next to the stroke you're trying to make?
Yep.
If it's a brush, yes. Although I still strongly doubt that they used brushes.
What do you think they used?
I mean,
Agreed. Yeah. I think the nib, or I'm sorry, the whatever they used has definitely got the angled edge.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I could ever get the, like in the Netcher sign, back a few glyphs over. I could never get that fine detail, but I don't know. There are
So
many talented people out there.
do you think they use like something that was like a tube,
I don't know.
like a quill pen or
Yeah, kind of like that, or like a reed pen,
reed pen?
like a calamus, of some kind.
well, there's two things they use. So, did I spell that wrong? I thought it was that. I didn't mean the philosophy. I meant the tool. Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
You got it.
apparently
Pen.
it can be spelled both ways.
There we go.
There you go, like that. Yep.
So that's what they used in like Demotic and Ptolemaic times, just without the slanted edge, but essentially, yes, something of that nature. But say, yeah, Tutankhamun times or earlier, they used, what is it, a rush? Let's
Right.
see.
And it seems like Dante even had like a replica of some
Yeah,
kind.
he
of like a
does.
rival
You're
kit.
right. He bought them in Berlin, I think, at the museum.
So cool.
And so there's I would say quite a bit of, no, that's not what we want. There you go. This is a good
Yeah.
example. So this is much thinner than, here's a nice one. Yeah, this is good. This is much thinner than the Ptolemaic kind of pen. And so if you read a lot of secondary literature, people basically claim that the front end was chewed on, and that makes it into a brush. The thing, however, is I've seen several people try it. So I think Dante tried it. There was somebody on Discord like a year ago who actually did the same experiment, tried that as well. And I found somebody who did like a mini research article on that, different ways of trying to create a brush from this, by hammering it, by chewing it. And every time the result looked horrible. You don't get that that clean writing edge that you clearly see in the text. If you look at it, fine lines like this, and then broad lines like this, the only way you can get that is if you have a tool that essentially looks like this, which basically has like a broad, sharp edge. And you don't get that by chewing on something.
But maybe they had generations of experience. So, and one person trying it is not proving
Sure.
that after
Sure.
generations of doing it over and over again, they
Right.
weren't able to figure it out.
True.
Just saying that.
You know, it could
Yeah.
be, you're right. It could be. I mean, maybe we're just doing it wrong. But what I suspect is maybe they chewed the brushes for painting. Like if you want to do, like, I don't know, fine lines in painting or something, that makes perfect sense. You wouldn't do that with a calligraphy nib either. You would do that with a very fine instrument. But for writing, just by looking at the shape, everything to me suggests that this is pretty much a rigid something. At first it seems confusing how you get broad and thin lines at the same time, but I would claim it's just the angle. If you if your writing instrument looks like this, right? Like that's the edge, and you just drag that down and then you go like this, then you get broad lines this way and thin lines that way, and then broad lines this way again. And that's exactly what we see. This looks almost like, so that's what I suspect it is. You hold it at a 45-degree angle, and then you just go like broad, broad, but if you go diagonal, it becomes thin, thin. Oh, well. That's as far as I
Yeah,
know.
we just need an actual Egyptian to teach us this, and then we'll be good. So
I mean, there is a way, because if you look at these writing kits, I'm sorry, not kids, kits, often they have ink on them. So you just need to look at them and see if they're chewed. And if you have one of them that that was clearly used for painting, the ones that had multiple colors, like I think this here is probably a painting kit because it has multiple, it doesn't just have black and red, but it also has yellow and some other colors in there. I would claim, I wouldn't look at those. I would want to look at those that were clearly used for writing only, like this type, black and red.
Yep.
So now the magic question is it chewed or is it not chewed? If it isn't chewed, then bingo. All right. Well, let's quickly finish this one up. Is there anything else? Reed leaf, tiny U, F, our highly stylized H, huge determinative stroke, J. This here, I mean, you could almost read that as a T, but it is an N, I guess. Yeah, he said to him, it makes sense. Then TUK. Let's see, anything here that stands out? Shout out if you guys see anything that needs special mention, but I think we had them all so far. He really likes to go big on those dotted H's, doesn't he? Like that's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go down. Like a lot of stuff going on in the top. Plural strokes, K.
do you think that's just a bit of the papyrus coming off, or the
Yeah,
hole in the papyrus? Yeah.
I think it is. This looks like it got scratched off.
Mhm.
I mean, 3,300 years. It's amazing anyways.
It is. It
When you
is.
think about it. This one here is like the fuller form of the book on top, and the body of the book roll, and then come the plural strokes underneath, 1, 2, 3. The sign for big, he always writes like this, R, and then down.
And the T, again, I think, Kevin, you mentioned that that's the stative, right? Great.
Yeah, I think so. Or become great.
Yeah.
Has become great. Yeah.
100% certain, because this word here is feminine. And so it should take, for the stative, it should take T.
Right.
So that fits perfectly.
Okay.
What else do we have? Highly stylized. I mean, this is kind of cool. It's just a line for the
Yeah.
snake. You don't even have the head. For some reason, our kid here has an extra stroke.
Yeah.
Have we saw that before? For some reason, I
Yeah.
think we saw it before.
Yeah, I remember talking about that before, but I don't remember what we concluded.
Oh, okay. I forgot about that one. Ish.
And that's the Ajad, right?
Yeah.
The lad, the youth, the boy. Okay.
Yeah. And the Ben bird always has that huge line on it.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Clearly does. What else? Here's your N. Here's your nu in 2 strokes, or if you want to count that separately. But basically one lifting of the brush in between to get to the other side. Because you just, with such a, it's not really a brush, with the kind of tool that they had, you just can't do that easily, loop back. It's way more elegant to just hop over and do a downstroke. Little dual strokes. And I think
And
Kevin pointed that out, that was the how, right? Like the we in all likelihood. Like
yeah.
W-I to basically say, how bad is the smell of your of your breath?
Or double bad.
And for that word, the depet, I found the definition for like tongue or taste or flavor. So we get smell from that because
The flavor
because of context.
No, because it's raw after it. Yeah.
Oh, of your mouth, yeah, of his mouth. Okay.
Yeah.
And we did discuss that briefly. I mean, the one thing that's really weird is just a little F here. You would expect a K. Unless you imagine this like theatrically, and then the god is basically turning to the other gods and going like, how bad is the smell of his mouth? Could be, you know. Stage directions.
it's like you are one who is bad of his mouth, you know, or something like that.
Could be. You mean like almost like a relative, huh? Well. But for that, I feel I mean, if you wanted to do that, you could do a whole thing here with an article and a relative pronoun and whatnot.
Yeah. For some reason, I just think it's just like a set. I just have a guess that it's like a set insult with an F at the end. So it's, even though you're saying it directly to somebody, you just use his instead of your. But yeah.
Could be. What you think, guys? Should we move on?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Volunteers.
I can attempt it. So the first word is A-R-N. So then I-N-H-R-X. So Anurus, kind, or QND became furious. And then that word kind of breaks across the line to the determinant of the guy that's hitting something. And then hey, which would be like a million times. Okay, then Sep would be times. And then Emmet would be, I translated that as likewise or as well, also something like that. And then Ta, Pesh, Jed, Pesjedet. So the Enneads or the 9. But like you say, Kevin, it doesn't account for everybody, just those popular 9 that got thought of. And then Jer, Set. So the entire Enneads. And then I think Ayet. So that would be like 30. And that got translated as like the council. So I guess 30 of the council or 30 of them or something like that. Life, power, and health. So that would be Unk. Let's see, where is it? Unk. Yeah, Wedged, Seneb, life, health, and all that. And then you, and then lots of gods in this sentence that I was unfamiliar with. So then we have got Baba, Pa, Necher. So Baba the god, hair, and so hair there I just translated as and.
That's the hair that's usually left out.
Okay. So then we have Duien. Let's see, Do N-E-F. So he got up. U-F. He. And then hair again. I just translated as and. And then the verb would be in the next line down in 10. Jeden, to say, and then something snarky about Parakti. Oh yeah, your shrine is empty, is vacant. Ka-er, Shui, Ek, yeah, is empty, and then would be Shui, also going across 2 lines.
I think that's a really interesting insult.
Yeah.
You only say it to a god,
Right.
and it's like, and the style of a shrine is a naos, so it's not like your temple is empty of people. It's not like nobody's worshiping you. It's that you're not possessing a cult statue. Your soul isn't going into it, because the naos is a tiny little thing within the temple.
Right.
Yeah,
so it's like the most sacred space, right? It's where the god sits in the statue or something like that.
Yeah, so maybe it's saying something like your power isn't extending to earth, or you're not able to influence the material world, or like you got no soul. Is the way.
Yeah.
Cool. I didn't catch that. I thought it was just like like you said, the temple is empty of people, basically, of worshippers or of gifts or something. But I see. So you're saying it's because of the kari, that's just, what exactly is that?
What exactly is what?
So you're saying that's the naos? That's the inner part of the.
Yeah. That's like, it's like it's if it's in the temple, it's made out of heavy stone or granite or whatever, and then they also have movable ones that are put on a boat.
Right.
And they also in the temples in some Ptolemaic temples, they have pictures of people carrying a naos up the stairs for Horus to join with the sun at noon.
So that's what's empty. Okay.
I've seen a replica of Tutankhamun, that first image on the left, at a local museum. That was cool. So yeah, all temples had something like that then. It's neat.
Yeah, put in a stairway of what are those Ptolemaic temples called? Like Stairway of the Temple of Horus, or Hathor's Temple. What is that called? Dendra, Stairway of Dendra. And then there's pictures of the priest, like here, the first one on the left on the second line. Oh yeah, they're carrying the naos up to the roof of the temple. So the sun god will come down into, or whatever, I don't know what the ritual is, but it's to bring the sun god up to the roof of the temple so that it can see the sun.
Very cool.
That's cool.
These are great reliefs. Not so much the caption here, ancient nuclear war.
Oh, for God's sake.
The stairways are so used that they look like they're melted. That's why.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's so cool.
Not melted stairs, one of them says. One of the captions says. Thanks.
The one thing I don't get is the real history is so much more interesting than all the made up stuff. I don't know why.
Right? Right? There's so
Why
much
do
stuff
we just
to
stick with
know.
what really happened?
Yeah.
Okie doke, but no, great. So we have our 2 lines already covered for today. So let's enjoy that.
So
Great.
who was, I guess my initial question, okay, was who's Baba and who's Oh Nice?
I know Honorus is a guy who's heavily associated with Horus, and he's a war god. So his personality is fitting in perfect here, that he gets really mad that Horus is being
Yeah.
insulted here.
There we go. Anhur.
Any good recommendations for like a list of all the Egyptian gods, or are there too many to list in a book? Or
This book here,
oh yeah, I've seen that one. I have that on my Amazon wish list. Yeah.
it's got a list in here somewhere, and she's really good. She's very smart about this stuff. So
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I'll check that one out.
The other one was Baba or Barbie.
yeah.
That's a
Oh, he's a baboon.
Oh, it is a baboon. Okay.
Oh,
Oh, this is the he kind of represents the not the magical unlocking the door type baboon, but the vicious aspects of it. It looks like
the bad attitude baboon.
aggressive.
it's a totally different spelling, the name.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm. I mean, one thing that
Yeah, right. There's a pa. There's peas. It seems
I
like
know.
spelling.
Oh, at first I was like, ba-pa. What are we talking about here?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Foot the.
what I suspect,
But they're so used to writing the pa. They're so used to writing the a with the p on it that maybe it just happens automatically, and it's like slow. It takes more time to not write the p.
You mean I didn't fully get that one?
We were wondering why there's a p in this spelling where it's not pronounced and it's not
Yeah.
transliterated. And maybe in demonic, since they're so used to writing the pa, they just throw it in there because it takes more time to not put the p in there because it's going against your instincts, or your body knowledge, or whatever.
Gardner actually has this different. He has the full pa both times. This one only has the biliteral the second time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So like our hieratic is different than our transcription
Yeah,
down below.
I think we just left out an Aleph word.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yep. There's another fix here missing. You're right. I think this actually means something with the B and the P afterwards because it's highly unusual. And I'm wondering if it has anything to do with a lot of B's becoming M's later in Coptic. So maybe this is really that's just a hypothesis. Maybe it's really to indicate that some kind of bilabial consonant is being called for here. It's not a P, it's a B. Maybe it's some kind of phonetic spelling, basically, to indicate this is really the sound we want. You have something similar in modern Greek, sort of, where to write B, I think you write MP, if I'm not mistaken, to basically reverse some sound changes in the orthography. It could be something like that. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. That spelling is kind of eye-catching with the B and then the PA afterwards. This one's really P Aleph in one. It's not just a P, but
Yeah.
should
P
be.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else do we have? The Khur you had mentioned, Peter, about. So this one really, I think, is the infinitive Khur. Like somebody is Khur doing something, which most of the time he leaves out. But in these two sentences, it's actually there, like Kevin said. So here, Baba Khur Tobin. I mean, sorry, I threw the Coptic in there. By the way, this is really cool. Let's do this real quick. So rise up. I think in Coptic that would be Tobin. Tone, right? Don't have a Coptic keyboard handy. Let's see if we go down. How do I make this go away?
And so the D must have become a T, and the
Yes.
when.
I put a little thing up on the Discord about that.
Cool. Okay, I'll check it out.
About because the word is to stretch out, and then there's Middle Egyptian where it says to stretch a bow, to stretch your arms, to stretch your legs, and then they just drop the stretch, and in Coptic it means only to get up.
Right. It's a really common verb.
Yeah, it's really what?
It's a really common verb. Like it's all over the place. And then he told and went forth or said or did whatever. It's like a common info for a sentence. And then he says, so Joe is still around in Coptic to say. And then let's see, this word for shrine I didn't know, but empty still exists. Shuit is still in Coptic. Shuit.
And it looks like the we is at the end too. The emphasis is there. It seems like on every adjective, at least lately, the we is on it. So that must be pretty common. Unless this is like, since this is kind of a comical thing, they're just kind of extreme with everything and putting the emphasis on every adjective.
Could be. You're right. Interesting observation. It's there again. Shui, which is really almost like Coptic. Coptic has a T, shuit. So it's not exactly the same form. Actually, if you take the whole sentence, it's kind of cool. I mean, okay, Kent is still around. Kent is John.
And then there's probably a little missing her before the Kent. Or that's what Ramsey says. So it's another adverbial sentence there.
You're right. Makes sense.
Okay.
So this one should be shond in Coptic. So almost the same, just the Q sound became a ksh, shond.
Okay.
This is still around. That's rach. I really can't write really well with this thing, but you guys get it. This is sop. That's still around. Hach and sop. You could still say that a million times if you wanted to. And then 30, map is still around. Map or mav, I forgot, but that word's still around. Dad is still around. So really, like, you could almost read the entire sentence in Coptic if you wanted to.
Cool.
Wow. Is the me?
No, the me like, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that survives.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
I got a list here.
But I mean, you could almost read this. Ocha, onure, kshont, emchach, en sop. This one we don't know. The next jet we don't know. Eteres, I guess. Map, and then however you want to pronounce the health, life, prosperity thing.
Aurelio, could you write that out and put that on Discord?
Okay, I could try. Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
Okay. I mean, maybe just one word at a time, but just it's nice. It would be nice to know the surviving words. I guess I could look them up, but if you got,
I'd like that too.
Okay, can try. It is pretty cool when I realized it's like, hey, you can read the sentence in full Coptic or helicoptic or whatever we wanted to call it. Should we look at the hieratic? Because
Can I ask a question before we do that? This Council of the 30, what is that? Do we know anything about that?
Egyptian,
that's the first time that's come up in this text, I think.
Egyptian texts are just full of stuff like that they expect you to know a vast amount of background mythology, and then they'll just mention stuff. The books of the dead are just, and the coffin text and everything is just full of that type of stuff. But yeah, you could look it up if you want to, but sometimes
I have to drop off in a moment anyways because of Sumerian, but
let's
have a quick look if 30 comes up in 31 plates. No. That could be it. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, like the 30
30
magistrates. it looks
magistrates,
like.
yeah.
And just flip it
The
like,
traditional grand jury of Egypt. There you go.
oh,
Okay, that makes sense.
Cool.
all right.
Cool.
Wait, you're reading that on your hand? I'm impressed.
Oh, now the other way. Nice.
Hey.
There you go. Good job.
Well,
Here we
now I
go.
can't find it. I can only read it sideways. Come on.
Oh, a few times named the Great
There it is.
Ennead,
There it is.
twice the entire Ennead,
9.
identifies it with the 30 magistrates or a tradition. Okay. So the Ennead, even though they call it 9, it just means a lot, at least in this case.
To your point from the other day, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Huh.
And now it's 30 of them. Hey,
Interesting.
I was reading something about this, and they were talking. I'm sorry, I know you got to go, but they were talking about that this is a satire of the bureaucracy of modern Egypt back then. You know, whatever it was modern, it's not mythical, but kind of making fun of. And so that's what it could be. There could be like,
Oh my God. I see what
you
you're
know,
saying.
referring to something that's actual there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So you
Wow.
see it's a bit like the White House Correspondents' Dinner. You know whom they're talking about? Cool idea, actually.
That's funny.
That
Hmm.
is.
Guys, have to drop. I apologize. Let's do the
Okay.
hieratic next time.
Yep.
No, you're amazing. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks all.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. See you next
Bye.
week.